Yeah, what's up, everyone? It is episode 312 because it's Friday. It's 6:30, and I am the brainless one. I'm any minute now. Jay will be popping in. We're going to be talking about the Backlash pay-per-view, the WrestleMania Backlash that took place this past weekend. Hell of a fucking card. That's all I'm going to say. That was one hell of a show. I don't want to say that, and to be honest, like I would say that it was the best Backlash card because it was the whole card up and down was just fantastic. But I don't really, there's not another Backlash that really sticks out. There's not even another match at a Backlash that actually sticks out. This was just magnificent. This was wonderful. And I keep thinking of the days when they had, the really shitty Backlash pay-per-views. What's up, Timmy? And when there was, even when they had the split branded pay-per-views and everything where Raw had one and Smackdown had the other, and it was just, 47 pay-per-views that were happening a year. But man, was that a good one. Oh, I mean, everything about that. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the new deal that AEW got with the WB. That's a hell of a freaking contract that they got there. Not bad for a t-shirt company. We're going to get into that.
Bow, 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 bow,
Yeah.
bow. Yeah. What's up,
up?
Timmy?
What's up, cousin Jay?
What's up,
How you doing, sir?
I'm doing all right. I got myself a Guinness.
What?
What? And we got wrestling to talk about. I mean, pretty good Friday night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And honestly, I want to get it. It's the first thing that needs to get brought up because I need to pay homage where homage is due. What's up, Chris Brown? First of all, Jay, it's one thing for you to get a perfect card.
Yeah.
You've done that at least 3-4 times, at least close to a handful of times. You've done it more than I have. But to top it off, you hit the Carlito prediction too.
It felt like it felt like something that should be there to make that event, an even bigger deal. For as much as Carlos Colon may have inadvertently or possibly, been there with Bruiser Brody's incident, the Colon name is still held in very high regard in Puerto Rico, and Carlito came out to a thunderous response, man. So
it was funny. It was funny too because when Savio first came out, when they had him come out and they handed the kendo stick that he gave to Bad Bunny, I popped for that because I always appreciated Savio Vega as a worker.
Yeah.
And then when and the match was happening and the numbers game was in the favor of the Spooky Pals, and when Carlito's music hit, I popped. That right now is in the clubhouse as the leader for markout moment of the year.
I mean, heck, you could put like that crowd.
Yeah.
Is like markout moment of the year was like that whole thing. They were absolutely bonkers for almost everything that happened last Saturday. And I have to give kudos to Tony Khan's cousin Nick for being the one who really has pushed forth them doing more of these international shows when you're bringing this the WWE show to the starved masses across the world,
Right.
when they see it in person and they just want to shout and scream and yell and hoot and holler about anything and everything that goes on in that ring. And
Mhm.
that's what happened last Saturday. It happened at Clash at the Castle. I mean, so good on Nick Khan for being the one. Hey, maybe we should do more of these international things in stadiums. It was his idea. His idea. I mean, you know my feelings about Saudi Arabia, like in them going there, but his idea. So,
And say what you will. I mean, yes, the Saudi government are horrible, horrible people for what has happened. You got to give it to the fans for actually showing up in Saudi Arabia to fill that stadium. The fans and the camels. I will never forget the camels being at the first show that they did in Saudi Arabia.
yeah.
But I mean, it is incredible, and they did announce that there's going to be a future show, a premium live event outside of the States in the future. And I know that they've also said a lot of people are hoping that WrestleMania Backlash stays in Puerto Rico.
It's not the worst idea. I mean, and if you go out to Europe, there are a ton of soccer/football stadiums that would be great. I mean, as we know, Wembley Stadium is going to be used for All In, and they're doing well with that. But outside of England, there are plenty of places within the rest of Europe to put on a ginormous show. Can you imagine, like, they can't reproduce it, but what if they went to Italy and made like a replica of like the Colosseum? Hey, pal.
That's tremendous, Jay. I love it. And you know what? You did speak the Punjabi prison back into existence. This could very well happen.
I know Vince tried to do that with WrestleMania 9 and failed a bit, but
Well,
we
hold
did
on.
Gonzalez versus The Undertaker, so I mean that makes up for it.
The fact that, and I'm glad that you did mention WrestleMania 9. This will be the only time I ever mention those words out of my mouth. The best match of that, not even the night, the best match of the day was Tatanka and Shawn Michaels that ended, I think, in a double count out or disqualification. I remember it was a funky finish because they wanted to keep Tatanka's undefeated streak active, but they also wanted to keep Shawn Michaels to look strong, which is why it was the best match of the card.
And I think Michaels might have been the Intercontinental Champion, and I think they were the curtain jerkers. I think they were the first match.
They were. I want to say you're also right. I think it was for the Intercontinental title too.
So, but there are many places around the globe that wouldn't mind having it, and it sounds like Australia is interested in not just WWE, but Impact Wrestling is actually having a multiple night tour down under during this summer, and it will represent Impact Wrestling's first shows outside of North America since like 2018.
Wow.
So good on them for being another option out there. Yeah, they're not as big as the other companies, but
But think about this. People have been trashing on Impact or TNA or whatever you want to call it. They're still going. They lasted longer than WCW did, technically. The WCW name, I should say.
Right. What's up, Mike Rainey?
What's up, Mike Rainey? But kudos to them for doing it, though. And this is good because now they have Nick Aldis, who came back. So he's a big name in Impact. I mean, he's a former NWA World Heavyweight Champion. But I mean, you got to do. I think they're doing great things. They have a lot of very talented people in Impact. I just don't know how I feel about the guy who was in the Forgotten Bums now being their World Heavyweight Champion.
Oh, well. I mean, he says his career is winding down pretty soon. Speaking of people who say their career is winding down, I think that this would, like, when I saw this story, I am like going, Brainless One is going to be on top of this. He's going to love this.
Ooh.
Kenny Omega says that he is reaching towards the end of his career. He also then bragged about himself and said, I just want to make sure I make it special for every place I go from now on. Uh, More or less like saying, like, yeah, this is my like victory lap right now. I mean, he had to add that stuff in, but I'm sure there was a smile on your face when he said that he's reaching near the
With a
end.
tear in my eye. Hold on, I gotta say it right. With a tear in my eye. This is the greatest day of my life, is what I will say when he finally retires. Which will probably be the exact same thing James E. Cornette also says when he retires. I'm glad you mentioned Kenny, because I don't know if it was in the same interview, but he did a different interview, and he had said, and I quote, Jon Moxley has been the MVP of AEW. What are your thoughts on that?
With all that went on uh, over the past year, you know, it kind of is hard to argue against him, you saying that, because when all the stuff happened at All Out, and they had just taken the title off Moxley. Moxley was getting ready to go on vacation, gets called back. I was convinced, like, yeah, he's not going to win this tournament. What they do? I figured he was going to go last a couple of rounds and go back on his vacation. But no, he went, he became champion and kept on doing his thing. Now, I think some of the crap that Moxley's gotten this year really is not his fault. And I know a lot of it, like there are a lot of people that still give him crap about the blade job and the fact that he bleeds too much in general, but like it definitely is on W or AEW production. They should not have shown him like going like this to his head. Shouldn't, but that's not on him. But yes, he does need to bleed less often. You know what? If they put something on like FanDuel, will Moxley bleed? Like
It's
you really have to give probably like 100-1 odds that he won't at this point.
and you would have hit like a couple months ago.
Mm-hmm.
Because there was like one day, like in the last couple months, that he actually didn't bleed and people lost their minds.
Right.
Which reminds me, that's what the Post said yesterday. It's been 0 days since the last time that Moxley bled out.
Speaking of bleeding out, Brock Lesnar, he pulled out his old trick from WrestleMania 31 that's not really a trick. He decides, you know what, we need color for this match. I'm not going to blade. I'm just going to headbutt something really hard. Really hard. Like, for instance, at WrestleMania 31, he headbutted the ring post.
I remember.
And then last weekend, he launched his head right into the metal turnbuckle. And the way they got to expose that, like, I was really impressed. Like, I was like, I've never seen it kind of exposed in that way. And then, like, yeah, there was no blade there. I saw the slow-mo, like, where literally he hits his head and comes up and he's just bleeding immediately. And like, he was just bleeding all over. And one thing I absolutely love, not just about, Brock doing that and, Brock losing clean. Yeah, they made it look like a cheap loss, but like he lost clean to Cody. But the crowd was cheering for both of them. Both of them.
Yep.
It didn't matter. They love Brock.
Yep.
And after the cameras went off, for the live broadcast, they gave Brock a standing ovation. I mean, what more can you say? I'd say it was a really good card. I enjoyed the matches an awful lot. I liked what they did with Zelina and Rhea, and Bianca and Io had a banger.
Yes,
that
they did.
Was a really good match. I mean, I think everything really kind of delivered for it being, WrestleMania retread, or after, I should say, the WrestleMania hangover, where like you don't really have storylines going necessarily. So, and Omos did really, really well against Seth, in the fact that Seth had to do the stomp from the top rope to take him out.
God.
And it was the stomp. Yeah.
It was awesome. I'd go as far as to say that was the best Backlash, but saying that is, I can't name another match that was on a Backlash card ever, but this was the best Backlash because it just, I could still, like, it was awesome. Everything, every match, like you said, every match hit. I will say this: if I had to be the devil's advocate, because I had to, that bump that Bad Bunny took when he fell and he almost broke his neck in the ring, that was just unnecessary. I was just like, because I was like, I thought he broke his neck.
Yeah.
But other than that, it was awesome. I loved Zelina grabbing her mom's flip-flop and throwing it at Rhea Ripley. I loved Bianca and Io was such a great match. And I said it. I said if there was going to be a match that was going to steal the show, it was going to be this match. And it did. It was awesome. The Bad Bunny and Damian Priest match was awesome. Seth Rollins and Omos was awesome. Rhea Ripley and Zelina Vega was awesome. The 6-man tag match was good. It wasn't anything.
Yeah, right.
I like what they were telling the story with the bloodline, with Solo and his brothers and the dissension in there, and Solo kind of taking it upon himself. And they booked that correctly. They should have won that match.
Yeah.
And they did. And just everything, Cody and Brock was awesome. Everything about the pay-per-view was awesome. Or premium live event.
Right. So Chris Brown is saying that one of the sponsors bitched and now blood is completely banned. I have not seen that posted on the places that I usually get my information. So we'll take the wait and see approach, and I'll just say that if Brock Lesnar wants to bleed, he's going to bleed. Now, if they try to stop the match like they used to do, like about 10 years ago, and try to put super glue on to close the wound, I'm pretty sure whatever person's doing that is going to get his tail kicked by Brock. So good luck with that. Although, I mean, Brock might do like he did when he was in UFC and like he was ticked off about, what was it, Budweiser, and he's like, yeah, I think I'm going to have a Coors Light here. Because Budweiser or Bud Light was like the sponsor, and he decided he was going to go the other direction, and Dana White had a talking with him, and Brock had to like apologize.
My question is, in a situation like this, if there are sponsors, not all the sponsors, but specific sponsors that are complaining about it, they should let people know who it is.
Like, if it were Snickers, I think that would be one that they would definitely be scared of losing, because they sponsor WrestleMania. They tend to sponsor Royal Rumble. They sponsor the really big events. And if you lose several $1 million from Snickers, you can't always have a Mountain Dew pitch black match to make up for it, or a Cinnamon Toast Crunch stairs match to make up for that revenue loss.
Oh, we didn't get one of those matches for Backlash.
No.
Is it going to be it's got to be SummerSlam then.
But you did say that this was the best Backlash because you don't remember any other Backlashes. I did. I think I've actually been to 2 Backlashes. One, I think it was a Backlash when it was Triple H versus Mankind, Hell in a Cell. Mankind loses, he retires, which he retired for about 2 months and then showed up at WrestleMania in a fatal four-way. And then I saw Backlash in Providence, Rhode Island, and that was when John Cena, I think, was in a last man standing match, and I think it was against Edge. And Big Show came out and threw him into like one of the lights.
Oh my God, you're right. That is a match that happened at Backlash.
So but that was a damn good match too.
I remember because I actually got, I think it's one of the few times before the network I actually got the Backlash pay-per-view because it was just, that was a stacked card too.
It was. And I don't remember any of the other matches off the top of my brain, but I do remember they had like the light ballast that was, you know, almost like a Hollywood light, and Big Show, like, it was, I think Big Show was injured, and it was like his first time back in a little bit. And the fact that he showed up was a surprise. And then, it was probably a heel turn. So, I mean, that was shocking. And then, he went and chokeslammed Cena through the light ballast, and Cena did not answer the 10 count.
Yes, I remember. That was crazy.
Yeah.
Now, was that his 404th or 409th heel turn?
I think that was 409.
Okay.
Formula 409.
I've lost count at this point of how many times, and that bastard freaking blocked us for it.
Apparently, I mean, he had that problem with Vince McMahon doing it all the time. So he's like, I don't want the fans making fun of me. I'm not even the one deciding it. I might be 7 foot tall and a giant, but I am very thick, thin-skinned.
Speaking of people who have blocked us on Twitter, real quick, I have the tweet. I took a screen grab of it. I'm going to post it on Facebook of the ill-fated tweet that Kevin Owens blocked our account from 7 years ago.
Nice.
It was funny. I found it, and then I got a really good chuckle out of it.
Mm-hmm. You know, Mike Rainey, the thing is, like, with Asuka, would it really be a heel turn? She was playing the heel at WrestleMania going against Bianca. You know, she got like a almost kind of a hero's cheer during WrestleMania, but she was the heel. So I don't even know if you could consider it like a heel turn. Like, did she unheel herself for like 2 weeks? So, yeah, but Mike, I was reading that same thing. I'm like going, wait a second, she is a heel.
Yep.
I mean, they're trying to big show her, maybe, or like Mickie James, when Mickie James didn't explain anything and she turned heel, and they never explained that, and then they gave her a trash bag as a parting gift.
Oh, that's not funny that they did that to her, though.
No, it's not.
It's not funny.
It's true.
Yeah, that's why I laughed. Damn true. Speaking of things that you talked about last week that I wanted to mention this week because it kind of coincides.
Yes.
So last week you had mentioned that you would like to, you mentioned the Olive Garden waiter version of Baron Corbin.
Yes.
Well, Baron Corbin did an interview earlier this week, and he was asked about if he would ever consider going back to the Lone Wolf character. And he said the Lone Wolf character, of all the characters he's had, has been the most of actually him. He rides the motorcycles. He's tattooed. He's kind of a loner. He goes, when I did the constable, the Olive Garden waiter, he goes, it was different for me because I had to go out there and, talking wasn't my strong point. And even he admitted it in the interview that it wasn't his strong suit. And going out there and starting off on Raw, cutting a 6-minute promo, he goes, you have to learn how to cut promos real quick. He said that if he were to do something, because every character he had, he liked doing, and if he were to bring back the Lone Wolf, he would bring back the Lone Wolf, but with parts of his former personas as part of the Lone Wolf.
Okay.
So what are your thoughts about him saying that?
I mean, I'd say there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. It's like Undertaker, like ended up playing a whole bunch of different characters and ended up back at the Dead Man at one point, and he kind of he still incorporated the moves from when he was, you know, the American Badass, and when he was Big Evil, and when he was, you know, Ministry Taker. He took all of that and combined it at the end. Yeah, he was the Dead Man, but he also used those little nuggets to do it. So Baron Corbin clearly is like hoping to follow that trajectory as far as possibly ending back where he started. I mean, yeah, definitely not on the level of the Taker, but yeah.
So what you're saying is he has to come out with the Lone Wolf vest. He has to have the Olive Garden waiter shirt on, but the spaghetti sauce stain still has to be on the shirt, all raveled up. What, the hat from Happy Corbin, I guess? He keeps that Happy Corbin hat. And, oh, no, he has to wear the King Corbin crown.
He has to wear the crown.
So he has to, I don't think he would really care if he missed the Happy Corbin thing, but. And whatever the hell he is now. I don't even know what the hell he is now. Maybe that's why they asked him if he was going to go.
Drafted.
Yeah, he wasn't even drafted. So not only does he not have a show, they don't even know what the hell he is anymore. No wonder why they asked him if he wanted to go back to the Lone Wolf. Because you're a man without a roster.
And I mean, they're not going the Heath Slater route. He doesn't have kids.
Oh, my. You know what? It's funny that you mentioned that because I remembered the 2016 draft because that was one of my personal favorites, even though it wasn't the way that I always liked the drafts. But that Heath Slater thing, it is incredible what that man was able to do with the crap that he was handed to him. Kind of like what we've always talked about with Damian Sandow, where he just kept getting all these crap gimmicks, and then he became the Miz's stunt double, and it was Emmy-worthy.
Yes.
But, I mean, it's... I lost my train of thought.
It's something. You know, when you're talking about different gimmicks, I just have to bring it up. Our good friend Gags the Clown sent me a video earlier this week that I just happened to have to send to the Brainless One because I needed his unvarnished opinion about it. I think it was Gags that sent it to me. And then Brainless One watched it and was like, going, wow, he lives the gimmick even better now. Duke the Dumpster Droese.
God.
Showed up at a wrestling event apparently not that long ago. And I mean, I guess by wrestling terms, you would call it a run-in, but it really was a walk-in. And he came crash barrel, and he moved at the speed of lightning for a snail. But his punches were, I mean, they were, I think, a couple notches below Shane McMahon punches. But man, he could still hoist that trash can.
All right, real quick, it was.
What are your thoughts on seeing Duke Droese in that state?
First, I just wanted to mention it was Heath Slater that I was on the topic of that I completely right out the whatever was left of the brainless brain is gone.
Brainless.
But I thought it was great. He handled that whole situation, and I am glad that it was him and Rhino that ended up winning the inaugural SmackDown Tag Team Championships because I trashed Heath Slater for a good 6 years. I didn't think he was anything special. I said he should be the first person eliminated from the first season of NXT. He just looks like a fool. I don't know why he's here. And you know what? I'm glad that he did what he did because he finally shut me up after 6 years. But again, it just shows that when people hand you lemons, you can make lemonade. And that, like him and Damian Sandow, they both made the best out of bad situations. But speaking of this bad situation, I don't know what to say, Jay, except you're right. He definitely knew how to hold that trash can. He was carrying his career in that can, but
You know, I think he's still clean, so good for him for being clean. But dude, please don't wrestle anymore, please.
that was I think it was MLW. I think
Yeah.
MLW had him in the show, and it was some kind of special battle royal. And I'm like, because you sent me the thing, and I'm like, what is this? Because when I'll tell you right now, when I got the clip, I saw the picture, and I'm like, I have no idea what the hell this is. So I opened it up, and the video showed, and I saw it was Duke Droese, and I was like, there's no fucking way that is Duke Droese. My childhood died watching that video. One of my personal favorites. He wasn't very good. He might have been number 2 in the programs. And wait, no, he's number 2 in your heart, but he was number 300 in the PWI's top 300 wrestlers of the year, 1993. The Trash Man, as Bobby Heenan so eloquently referred to his proper name at WrestleMania 17. Jay, that was bad. I mean,
good for him for getting a payday.
So I'm just hoping that means in Philadelphia that they don't do a gimmick battle royal because they can't call Duke Droese. Because this is going to be like the Iron Sheik, and they're not going to want to have Duke Droese win this match. Because I'm going to tell you right now, he's going to definitely get hit with a garbage can on his way out of the ring.
Maybe even going into the ring. It's Philadelphia, man.
You know, it would be funny if they did, like, and they'll never do this, but it would be funny if they did. Like they did the gimmick battle royal like a WrestleMania 17, but instead of having like the actual battle royal with all the legends, you know, back in 17 they're going to have somebody like Kane come out and just rip everybody to shreds. Like they go and they do like one at WrestleMania 40 in Philadelphia, and they have all the veterans in the ring, and they're all standing there, and all of a sudden like Omos's music hits, and he comes out there and just rips through everybody.
Yeah. That would be fun if they did something like that. It'd be like in Lord of the Rings when they had Saruman, like when the elves are thinking they're winning this battle and men are thinking they're winning the battle, and Saruman comes out and just, oh yeah, but yeah.
Just like, you know, when every time you're in the Royal Rumble and you've had like, you know, it kind of builds up, where guys 9 through 15 are still in the ring, and you got a couple other stragglers, and then like number 16 comes in with the hot. He goes in there and just cleans house. That's what you got to do. That's what we need. Omos going in there and plowing through all the veterans.
Yeah,
it'd be different.
Yeah, it would be, and like with it being in Philadelphia, I'm wondering if, you know, if we end up getting like an RVD appearance. Clearly we're going to have a Paul Heyman appearance, and we might have the loudest ECW chant that ever happened within like a stadium. I think it's going to happen.
I got the perfect celebrity Hall of Fame inductee that year then for WrestleMania in Philadelphia.
Okay.
If they're going to do it, it's somebody, now think about it. It's somebody who is very famous, who has made numerous appearances for WWE, who's going to get a reaction out of the crowd in Philadelphia.
I mean, they could do somebody like Gronk.
Santa Claus.
Oh. Mick Foley is Santa Claus at WrestleMania.
Oh, no. See, because if we're in Philadelphia for WrestleMania 40 and Mick Foley comes out dressed as Santa Claus, and somehow, some way, somebody brings a snowball into the link and hucks that thing at Mick Foley, all hell's going to break loose, because I'm going to find that person. I will make sure I find that person.
Right. Hey. Speaking of WrestleMania, the owner of the Tennessee Titans is a little loose with his lips. Normally, WWE likes to make their own announcements of when and where WrestleMania is going to be. But it sounds like Titans owner is pretty certain that WrestleMania, I believe, 43 is going to be in Tennessee. If they already have WrestleMania 43 planned out, like holy moly, like do they know where all these are for the next like 4 or 5 years? Are they doing it kind of similar to the NFL where they, like, except for WWE, make sure they don't really tell you until, a little bit before the WrestleMania, like, we found out it was Philadelphia, a little bit before WrestleMania 39.
Well, remember...
And would WWE be pissed off enough to say, sorry, sir, you shouldn't have said that. We're taking our talents elsewhere.
They could. If they didn't want it to get out, they could. But if I remember correctly, I think it was 37, 38, and 39. 37, 38, and 39, they announced like back to back to back in the same night. Obviously it was because of the pandemic. So they're like, yeah, we're going to do 37 in Tampa. 38 is going to be in Dallas, I believe it was. And then 39 was in Los Angeles. So I remember they had John Cena come up and play, he was a newscaster covering the thing from wherever the hell he was in California, because he was Hollywood.
So, but like seeing that, I was just kind of like, maybe you shouldn't have said that. Maybe he's going to lose his stadium in his city a whole bunch of money. Now, when they ran SummerSlam there, a little over a year ago or a year and a half ago, they did really well. And there was actually talks of them doing SummerSlam again in Nashville because of how well they, it went for them. So, clearly they have a good relationship with Nashville that they want to continue. But I just sat there, I'm like going, ooh, you said this without like kissing the ring first.
Yep. I don't think it's that big of a deal. I think if it was like one of those 30, 25s, 40, if that had gone out early, I don't think they're going to be mad that WrestleMania 43. Hell, a lot of people are going to forget that WrestleMania 43 is in Tennessee in 4 years. I know I will.
Yeah?
Yeah. But a thought, Sheamus lives in Tennessee now. If he makes it 4 more years, that could be his goodbye, his farewell match.
It could be.
And we can even see somebody like Bianca, because she's also from Tennessee. She could be in the main event.
Right.
I know I'm booking 4 years in advance for a WrestleMania that I'm going to forget is even in that city in about an hour.
Well, I mean, so Becky Lynch came out and said that she is trying to push WWE to have a premium live event in Ireland. If that happens, there is no better place for Sheamus to win the Intercontinental Championship.
Or he wins the World Heavyweight Championship.
Yeah?
Yeah?
Well, Edge came out this week and said, I need to win that World Heavyweight Championship. I lost it in 2011. I never had a chance to, didn't lose it. I had to relinquish it. I never had a chance to win that thing back. He's like, you know what? Before I call it quits, I need to win that title, and when I lose, I'm done. And I know part of that's him trying to hype up what's happening tonight. But I also don't think that he is straying too far from what he really wants. So, no, not at all.
I've been hearing a lot.
Winning the title and it wasn't Rollins that won the title, I wouldn't be upset.
Right. I think
have history.
Right.
So you could play into that going into Night of Champions.
I've been hearing the rumors because a lot of people are like, well, imagine if it was Edge. And then he came out and did an interview. Hey, I want to win the title now. Tell me somebody on SmackDown who's more deserving than Edge right now. Look, I'll admit, I love Rey. Rey is my favorite luchador of all time. Love Rey Mysterio. Respect the hell out of Rey Mysterio. He's not winning this match. Austin Theory is the United States champion. He doesn't deserve to win, to be in the heavyweight title match. I think it's stupid that he's even. I think it's stupid he's in this match. If you wanted somebody who was a heel that could have been in this match to replace him, where the hell's LA Knight?
Yeah.
Bobby Lashley, yes. Bobby Lashley can make a case for. Sheamus, you know me, I can make a case for Sheamus, but come on. Eventually,
Right.
whoever this is going to win the World Heavyweight Championship and could potentially go back to Raw and then get traded for Cody Rhodes.
Certainly possible. Could be a thing. We will find out more tonight. And, one of the things we brought up last week that we didn't think made a lot of sense is like, oh, yes, whoever is going to be, wherever Roman goes, it's going to be the other show that gets the new championship. And then after they announced that, then all of a sudden they involved people that just got drafted to one show to be in this tournament for a championship that's on the other show. And I'm like, well, that's stupid. Well, the reasoning is specific. They're going against the NBA playoffs, and they're like, oh, well, we need to have something that people are actually possibly going to get invested in, that they quote unquote couldn't do a bad show. It's like, so you were just gonna, phone it in, but because like you're afraid that your ratings are gonna go in the tank. Hey, maybe we should do something good this week.
I mean, to be fair, I'm just saying, to be fair, I don't know if the West Coast actually shoots Raw or, if Raw is live at 5:00 in the West Coast. I'm not positive.
Right.
I've never been to the West Coast to watch SmackDown because SmackDown wasn't a thing when I went to the West Coast. So I don't know if it's on at 5:00. If that's the case, if it's on at 5:00, they're going up against the Knicks.
Right.
LeBron and Curry. Curry and LeBron are playing tonight at like 10:30 in Los Angeles or Golden State, wherever the hell they are. I think they're in LA.
They're in California.
California, yeah.
Yeah. But so Tim's saying he wants AJ Styles to win this match.
I would love to see AJ win it. My thing is, let's say they do get somebody from SmackDown to win this stupid thing. I really do think it's going to be Seth. Seth has busted his ass. Seth has been if Jon Moxley is the MVP of AEW, Seth Rollins has been the MVP of WWE, and you can't change my mind. I don't care how long Roman Reigns has been the champion for. Seth Rollins has been there to fight everyone. He fought Roman Reigns. He made Cody Rhodes look like $1 million, 3 pay-per-views in a row. He made Riddle look like $1 million. Seth Rollins has had Edge. Yes, he wrestled Edge and made Edge look like $1 million. Seth Rollins has been the MVP of WWE for over a year now.
He made Omos have his best match.
Let's not kid ourselves. Omos looked good. What is this? I'm an Omos sapien. Omos sapien. I am one of those now. I am a fan of the Omos.
Okay.
But honestly, goodness, in my heart of hearts, I would love to see Edge win this match. But if Seth Rollins is the one that ends up winning it, I'd be okay with that. It's one of those two for me. And it's nothing against AJ Styles. I like to see AJ be one of the guys that feuds with Roman.
Yeah, that we haven't seen AJ and Roman for a little bit,
Yep.
So.
And AJ needs to do something. He just got moved to SmackDown with the OC. So AJ's got to do something.
All right. So one thing that we've talked about in a few episodes is when is Drew McIntyre's contract up? There have been a lot of conflicting reports, but now the most recent one that seems like it feels to me like the most credence to it, sounds like his contract isn't even up until it's said early next year before WrestleMania. So it sounds like he's got a contract maybe that goes through Royal Rumble, but you know that's way more time than I think. You know, you originally I think had heard that it was going to be like June or July that his contract might be up. And I had been hearing like, oh, it's the end of the year, and now it's like, oh, it's sometime after the new year.
Well,
So
it's funny
Drew
because,
McIntyre still has a decent amount of time left.
and that's a good point. They might extend it due to his injury too, because that's why he hasn't been on television since WrestleMania. He got hurt during the road to WrestleMania, and he was like, I am not passing up my match with Sheamus and Gunther for anything. So,
Yeah.
And because it's funny too, because I know a lot of it, and it's unfortunate as well, because all of this stuff is getting speculated about him and his status with WWE because he hasn't been around. And it's like, well, they're doing this World Heavyweight Tournament. Drew McIntyre obviously should be one of the 12 people in there. When they posted who was going to be in the match, and I saw that Drew McIntyre wasn't going to be in there, I was like, that's very interesting. And I'm like, he's got to be hurt. Because they can't be holding this against him unless his contract was really up. And like you said, you heard the end of the year. There's been reports that it's, you know, sometime in early 2024. You know, I've heard a lot of conflicting reports. So it's going to be interesting to see how this all plays out.
So yeah, speaking of somebody who not really contract up, but Matt Cardona had a handshake agreement with Impact Wrestling, and it had been going on for, you know, a few years at this point, and you know they wanted a larger commitment from him, and him to be, I don't think like just Impact Wrestling, but they wanted him to be a little bit more Impact centric in his planning, and he is like, yeah, no thanks. Like, you know, I appreciate all you've done, but no, I want to keep on doing what I'm doing. He said no hard feelings about it. You know, he wouldn't mind going back to Impact, but also in this same interview that like I was reading, he said that, hey, yeah, I wouldn't mind going back to WWE, but I'm not going to go back to the roster to be just another guy. I think I've proven myself enough outside of the company. I don't need the company to, you know, do my thing. He was like, I spent plenty of time being just a guy on that roster. If I go back, I need to be somebody who is, you know, got the spotlight on me. And I agree with him. Like, don't go back to be just a guy.
He could go back. He could be an upper mid-card guy.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. He's not.
No, he's not above Seth Rollins. He's not above Drew McIntyre. He's not above Walter. He's not above Roman Reigns, clearly. There's a lot of people above him, but he could be at, above the level of like, I'll just throw out Austin Theory because he's the U.S. champion and he's just young and has not gotten a ginormous swell of love or hatred from the crowd. He gets hatred, but it's not deep seated. It's not iron.
He is what WWE thought Cody Rhodes was 7 years ago when they let him go. He's an upper mid-card guy who can win the Intercontinental Championship a few times, longer than a day, and the U.S. Championship for longer than 3 weeks. And there's nothing wrong. And honestly, there's really nothing wrong with winning the Intercontinental title 4, 5, 6 times.
I mean, I would say that you could put him like at a level that's I'd say higher than what the Miz is right now, and he'd be. I would say that that would be that. I mean, Miz right now is not, top of the charts or anything. It's not like he was a few years ago where, like, he was on fire. I mean, it was my feud of the year, 5 years ago, when Dolph Ziggler for the Intercontinental title. And I mean, both you and I were like, he deserves another run at the heavyweight championship. And they gave him, like, what was it, a day?
8 days.
So
he cashed in a pay-per-view and lost it, not the next night on Raw, but the following Raw, because Bobby Lashley helped him win it. And I was pissed because I was waiting for that reign. And again, nothing against Bobby Lashley, because I love Bobby Lashley. His run the last couple of years has been fantastic. Ever since he turned heel in WWE, his run has been incredible. But I hated the fact that they did The Miz the way they did there. That's all.
Yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of people who had runs in WWE with championships, CM Punk.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of speculation about when CM Punk's going to be returning. And, I mean, we've been talking about it a couple times the last few weeks and everything. And we were discussing, like, who he's going to want to feud with, and because it looks like he's going to be at the forefront of the Collision show. People were saying that his first feud was going to be against Chris Jericho. Not so fast, my friends. Apparently, CM Punk has the opponent that he wants to go up against in his own mind, and it is none other than the Samoan cookie seller himself, Samoa Joe.
I was going to say the Samoan cookie machine.
Ooh, I like that one better. The Samoan cookie machine. I love it.
But Mike Rainey, Dolph Ziggler is still out there. At this point in his career, he's out there to shine people up. I think he actually enjoys the spot he's in. I'm not going to say he has no desire to be at the top of WWE, but I'm going to say that he has a waning desire to be at the top because he realizes the time commitment that would require of him, and he has so many other outside interests that at this point he's like, I love doing what I'm doing in the pro wrestling ring, but there's other things I love too, and being heavyweight champion or being universal champion would get in the way of that. So, but Dolph is still out there. He's still around. He had a match, I think it was a few weeks ago on TV. My brain is short-circuiting on who it was against, but he had one recently. And again, he was out there to shine somebody up. So
it might have been Omos.
Yeah.
Yeah. So quick, what are your thoughts on Punk and Joe being Punk's first rivalry on this new Collision show?
I remember it was probably about 3 years ago, maybe 4, where they interviewed Samoa Joe. Samoa Joe talked about how he remained in contact with CM Punk and said, hey, yeah, some of my best matches of my career were against him. And he's like, I still talk to him. And yeah, despite how things ended in WWE and despite the fact that he says he's moved on with his life, he's like, I'm sorry, you can't be a person who is that totally into something like wrestling and then you just switch it off. He's like, no, we're going to see CM Punk back in a wrestling ring. And Samoa Joe specifically said, I would not mind doing more. I think he talked about how they used to do 60-minute matches with each other. He's like, and mind you, this is a few years back, but he said, yeah, I wouldn't mind revisiting that, where we're at now and trying to do another hour-long match. See if we could do it still. See how high of a level we could do it. But I need to be in the ring with him again.
I'm going to watch that first episode of Collision. If CM Punk and FTR are going to be there, I got a really good – I mean, it's going to be kind of like a win and a loss at the same time because I'm pretty sure Powerhouse Hobbs is going to end up on Collision, which subsequently means QT Marshall is going to be on the Collision show. Yeah.
But we saw 2 people on Dynamite this week that I think will be landing in the Collision land. We got the visual return of both Miro and ThunderRosa. It was weird how, like, the sites that I go to check these things said, oh, Miro returns, ThunderRosa returns. I'm like going in the ring, and it's like, no, they just did like a backstage segment where they met with Tony Khan. And I was like, okay, I get what this is. And Miro was one of the names I certainly brought up about being a good fit for this third show that they were going to have. But I thought ThunderRosa was still a little bit away from being healthy. But with this kind of being a softish brand split and being able to keep ThunderRosa maybe away from people in the locker room that she doesn't get along with, it makes an awful lot of sense.
It's funny because on the outside, you know, like the AEW people looking at it, it looks like the Collision is the land of misfit toys, and the EVPs and the other people who kiss Tony Khan's ass are going to stay on Dynamite. I'm going to tell you right now, Jay, if we're going to get Miro, CM Punk, FTR, ThunderRosa, I'm guessing I got a feeling we're going to get Powerhouse Hobbs. We're probably going to get Ricky Starks.
Right.
You give me the people who can wrestle like that, because I'll be on board with that. I want to see that. I don't want to watch the crap that freaking the Young Bucks and freaking Kenny do every single week. And let's you know what? Since we're on the topic, let's talk about that steel cage match that they had in the main event of Dynamite that I didn't watch, because I refuse to watch when Twinkle Toes is in the main event. I automatically turn off if I'm watching. He hit that stupid move, and the cage went flying open, and everybody, he poured out, and Jon Moxley poured out. Of course, Jon Moxley was covered in blood. Didn't really need to see the match. So they did this part.
Are you telling me that Jon Moxley bled on Wednesday?
He may. I cannot confirm nor deny that Mr. Jonathan Moxley bled on Wednesday.
Huh. I am completely shocked. I thought they outlawed it for Jon Moxley on Dynamite.
He bled like a I forget the old saying. Like a stuck pig, I think it is.
Yeah.
But I mean that whole thing where they did the move and he kicked him and he did the whatever the hell the move is called. I don't know, don't care. It's Kenny Omega. I couldn't tell you any of the moves that he does other than the freaking Canadian Destroyer that he absolutely ruined professional wrestling with.
We could call it the blow up doll move of doom.
Flippy bits. 7 Canadian Destroyers. But he did the stupid knee strike, and Moxley fell back, and the cage busted open, and Moxley spilled out, and Omega spilled out. So now the side of the cage is exposed. You're not supposed to. You guys, they made the rule. You can't escape the cage. You have to only win by pinfall or submission. So they let Don Fallis into this match. Boy, Jay, I watched the clip from this. I saw it coming a mile. When he got attacked by the Blackpool Combat Club, I knew what it was leading to, because Moxley says, "If I'm going to work with you, I gotta bleed with you first." So when Don Fallis went into the ring and cost Omega the match, and then stuck him with the screwdriver,
sad.
They're replacing the man's man with the jackal.
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 Jackal. Jackal. It's a jackal? Jackal. It's a jackal. 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 Just a jackal. Jackal. It wasn't right the first time. Why would it be right the other 400 times? God!
Speaking of AEW, although technically speaking, I guess he's a Ring of Honor person now. Eddie Kingston had hernia surgery and will be out for the next 6 weeks. True to form, true to character. In his hospital photo, he was flipping off the people in the most brainless centric thing. As you've stated on this show, the person that is closest to the brainless one
If I was a professional wrestler, I would be Eddie Kingston. There's no question in my mind. And honestly, I've been watching wrestling for 35 years. I can safely tell you there's not a wrestler that I've been closely equated to more than Edward Moore.
Yeah.
A honorable mention, though, to Duke Joshi.
Yes. Yes.
Because I too would also be the 300th wrestler in the PWI top 300 wrestlers in the world. And I would also be called the Trash Man.
I mean, at that rate, you would be rated higher than Montez Ford.
Oh, why do you got to remind me about that? I randomly thought about that the other day and got pissed off. You know what's funny? I was actually in the middle of a dash. I was driving. I just picked up the food maybe a minute or two before, and I was sitting at a red light, and I went, fuck. Montez Ford wasn't even on the PWI list this year. Just randomly. That's how my brain works.
I'm just coming up with a random idea. You're the one who does the top 10 lists. Maybe we should do top 10 times that Jonathan Moxley bled.
Jay, there's going to be a lot of footage.
In the last 3 months. Oh, wait.
It's like that ESPN commercial when they were talking about how the people at ESPN were like talking shit to people and everything. So somebody goes and tells Evander Holyfield that Charlie Steiner said that Holyfield was the 50th best boxer. And Holyfield goes, I think it was Steve Levy, and he goes, he said that you were about the 50th best boxer. And Holyfield goes, in the world? He goes, from the state of Georgia. He got all pissed off and he squashed the cup. Sorry, the vintage ESPN commercials were always fantastic.
They were. They really were.
But I that's what made me think of it. Because there's going to be 50 times in the last month.
On the AEW front, one of the 4 pillars is going to go to the top pillar of the earth. And I believe, don't quote me on this. This is my hypothesis, though, of the situation. Darby Allin next year wants to go to the top of Mount Everest. My belief is I think he is trying to reach Space Mountain. What say you?
It's going to be funny when he makes the ascent up to Mount Everest and he gets to the top of Mount Everest and Sting's going to be standing there. It's Sting!
With Gary Michael Capetta.
Yes.
Announcing.
Because you can't have Sting without Gary Michael Capetta. I'm sorry.
So it was brought up in the chat a little bit earlier that there may be a retirement match coming. Might be even double retirement match with Sting and Goldberg. And it's supposedly going to be in Israel. Now, right now it sounds like Goldberg has hired some people that are trying to do the booking and promoting for this. But again, to get Sting's under contract for another bit of time, unless Sting decides, once his AEW's contract's over, he'll, wrestle a few more times. But it sounds like Goldberg at least wants Sting on the card with him. So, I mean, that would be 2 big names. I don't know if there are a lot of other free agent big names out there that, you could get on a card like this. Maybe a couple.
Nia Jax.
Right. But somebody who technically isn't a free agent, but is going to be actually going through the Forbidden Door, not at the Forbidden Door pay-per-view, is one Will Ospreay. Will Ospreay is officially booked for All In Wembley Stadium. He doesn't have an opponent, but he will be wrestling for AEW at All In his homeland. So good for him. Good. That's a good get for AEW for that show.
Oh, absolutely. And it's gonna end up being Kenny Omega.
Ugh.
Because Kenny and the Bucks don't want to make money with CM Punk and FTR, so we'll end up getting Kenny Omega versus Will Ospreay to kind of, I know we could have had Kenny and the Bucks versus CM Punk and FTR, but our EVPs are afraid of one wrestler who is 45 and damaged goods.
Right.
But
so one thing that comes about the EVPs and CM Punk is they've been basically told not to contact each other. And there was a thing out there that said that there was one person that actually wanted to reach out and apologize, and that person wasn't CM Punk. I mean, it feels like it's probably Kenny Omega.
probably.
But they aren't letting them talk with each other. I don't know if they're waiting until after the official launch of Collision before they try to do that because they don't want to ruin that. Because it seems like any time, the Bucks certainly try to incite Punk by doing things. Punk, for the most part, hasn't been taking the bait. Like, he really needs to be poked before he finally is like, all right, well, screw you all. I'm going to light this on fire. And something that feels like it should be a small deal ends up turning into a forest fire.
And you know what? Kudos to him when they did that bit in Chicago after Kenny said we got to let this and just kind of let things get over and we stopped talking about it. And then they did the shit in Chicago and CM Punk was radio silent. Kudos to him for that because he could have went scorched earth.
Right.
But I agree. I think it is Kenny that's probably the one that's trying to reach out because I don't know because it's freaking Kenny. I can't explain to you why Kenny Omega does what Kenny Omega does. I don't care about Kenny Omega. Ugh.
Ugh. Yeah.
The heel turn in the middle of the steel cage match was almost as bad as the exploding ring of death match. Oh, shit.
Yeah. All right.
I only got a couple of notes. I mean, there are a couple of big ones, but I got a couple of notes. That's it. We hit all my minor notes.
Okay. One thing I did read before the podcast started, and I would, it's upsetting to me. Bobby Roode had a second neck fusion surgery. He had gotten neck fusion. I think it was sometime around November, I think, and he went back in, and they're like, yeah, we need to fuse more together. He's been out for quite a while, and he clearly isn't going to be back probably until 2024. And at his,
Even at all.
his age, would kind of contemplate, like if I were him, maybe I'd come and have one more match just so I could finish on my own.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, I mean, he ain't no spring chicken. Like, dude,
Last August.
Your long term. That's all.
His first surgery was back in August.
Okay.
And it's a shame too because he is one hell of a performer.
Yeah.
But like you said, he's getting up there in age. He's not like if he was 33, 34, yeah, I could see maybe coming back from this, but you're 45, 46 now.
Yeah. And like I said, come back to have a match that like in there with somebody safe and have a match with somebody like AJ Styles, who you've wrestled a whole bunch of times and know what he does, you know what, and vice versa. But it just sucks that a dude, who really put in the work and, had a great run and Impact between beer money, between being the world champion there, and put together a really solid run in WWE, being NXT champion, tag champion, US champion. I mean, it's a very solid run that he's had in WWE. I wouldn't sell it short. I mean, I'm sure age was part of his thing where Vince is like, I'm not going to shoot him to the moon. Like he was, I think when he started on the main roster, I think he was like 40. I think usually that doesn't mean a long shelf life, and maybe that's part of their pause with LA Knight.
Could be, and I really hope that's not the case.
But apparently somebody who is close to the age of LA Knight, one Damian Priest, after his match that he had against Bad Bunny, is now seen almost main event level stature within the company. He ended up carrying a non-wrestler through a 25-minute match. Yeah, that there was gimmicky stuff going on, but he carried that match and made it look good.
He sold that leg injury very well too.
Yeah.
They told such a great story in that match. That was the one thing that was overlooked over the fact that it was, honest to goodness, for the most part, a great match. I loved the surprises of it. I loved, the wrestling of it. The bumps were great. I loved the fact that he came out and got the New Jack cart under the thing and brought it to the ring. That was such a nice touch. But honestly, this is good for Damian Priest because he deserves it. He's been a guy who, a lot of people we've been talking about in this podcast, he's been busting his ass of late. Him and Bad Bunny had that great match at WrestleMania a couple of years ago where they teamed up against The Miz and John Morrison.
Right.
He's had great matches with Keith Lee. He's had great matches with Donovan Dijakovic. There's a lot of people that he has had great matches with, and it's about time that the dude gets his flowers.
Right.
So I'm glad he's getting this chance because somebody in the Spooky Pals, other than Rhea Ripley, really needs to kind of go to that next level.
Well, and Dominic clearly has been helped a great deal by the Spooky Pals, and they did eventually, after the what I would consider disastrous beginning of the Finn Balor era of the Spooky Pals, where it was like, this whole thing doesn't make any damn sense. And despite the fact that it didn't make a whole lot of sense, eventually they got, storyline over. They got the faction over enough. I mean, I still stand by the idea of Finn Balor should have won at WrestleMania. I understand, you need to have Edge win it because, they went out on his family and they did the stuff to his wife. And he needs to be the one standing tall at the end. It's like, but Edge is near the end of his career. I know Finn Balor isn't a young person, but if you wanted to launch Finn another level, you have to win at WrestleMania, damn it.
Hey, Edge had to have the exclamation point in his feud with the Spooky Pals because the Spooky Pals exist because of Edge. So now we get heel Dom every single week because Edge birthed the Spooky Pals at WrestleMania.
Yeah.
Real quick though.
Yes.
Before we get to any more, because we did talk about it, and we just talked about Edge right here. Let's say Edge, for whatever reason, they actually do pull the trigger and let Edge win the whole thing. He wins his triple threat match with Ray and AJ tonight, and then he beats the winner, probably Theory, in the main event to get the final spot against Seth at Clash of the Champion 13.
Yes.
Clash of the Sandcastle 13. No, that didn't sound right.
I wonder if the Botswana Beast will be there.
Let's say, why? So you get knocked out in the first round of the Pat O'Connor Memorial Tag Team Tournament?
Yes.
Okay. As long as we have everything figured out. But let's say Edge does win tonight and goes on to face Seth at Night of Champions in Jeddah and somehow wins this thing. Edge said as soon as he drops the title, he's done.
Right.
If he were to win the championship, who does he drop the title to? Who do you think is somebody who is worthy enough of not only being the world heavyweight champion, but to end the career of a legendary wrestler? I know it's not Hulk Hogan or Ric Flair. I mean, and it's not a slight on Edge by any means. The man is a very, very well-deserving Hall of Famer. He deserves the title of legend. But who deserves to get that victory and to win the World Heavyweight Championship from Edge? Ha!
This makes zero logical sense at this moment, probably. Put it on Dominic Mysterio.
Oh,
Dominic Mysterio is already a heat magnet. Him being a pompous dickhead, him and his mammy both having the championship simultaneously. Can you think of anything that would be more annoying than that? I can't think of it. I can't.
Austin Theory would be worse and more annoying. But, I mean,
I'm saying.
All I'm going to say is if they did go that route with Austin Theory and he's the one that takes the title from Edge, they could just go to the warehouse and get all those Fiend heavyweight championship belts and just resell them as Theory championship belts. Because they look exactly the same.
Well, I mean, there's nothing saying that the Fiend can't be the one to take the title off him either, a.k.a. Bray Wyatt.
That's a thought, because where the hell is he?
He's not drafted to any show at this moment. It sounds like there's plans for him to come back. They're holding off bringing back Alexa. And no, I'm not talking to you.
Damn, Jay, you put it right in her place.
Yeah.
Damn Echo Bot.
But if that's the case, why would you hold her back from coming back for a lengthy period of time? I mean, you could have her back on TV and still get entranced by Bray Wyatt.
Good point.
So if Edge, had kind of, he said in an interview recently, I think it was around WrestleMania, said, I think I got one more year left of still being able to work in an elite level. So he did say last year, around, this time of year, we always end up in Toronto. Let's say I retire in Toronto. I could see him wanting to hold on for another year or maybe even till WrestleMania 40. He won the title, or he retained the title against Alberto Del Rio at WrestleMania and was forced to leave. This time, he gets sent off into the sunset, losing at WrestleMania.
It's not a bad idea. That's really not a bad idea. Okay, so the entire episode, right before the episode,
Yes.
you can ask Brainless Wife. I've had this question that's been in the back of my mind that I wanted to ask you. I saw it online, and I said, I got to write it down before I forget. And lo and behold, before I could even get my pen and paper, I had already forgotten. Until now. Let me ask you.
Yeah?
Yeah? Let me ask you this, Jay. Let's say they're in the main event, and it's Seth Rollins and whoever the hell it is representing SmackDown. And before the match is over, it even starts, Vince McMahon's music hits. Okay, pals, before this match goes any further, I'm making this a triple threat, pals. And Roman Reigns' music hits.
I mean, that would definitely be Vince overriding Triple H. I'm back in control, pal.
The more I hear it, the more I see it, and the more people talk about it, the more I'm going to want it.
It would definitely be the biggest troll job in the history of WWE. Except, well, what was it? When they did GTV, they never revealed that. They kind of sort of revealed the hacker. Are they going to eventually reveal the parking lot assailant down at the Performance Center? Because that's a thing now. I mean, Performance Center parking lot is the most dangerous place, it seems, in the world.
Yeah, I can't argue that.
Nobody's safe.
Nobody. Well, hold on. I mean, would it be a bigger troll job than the gobbledygooker? When they had poor Undertaker thinking he was going to be Eggman? Oh. I just, as tired.
You want to see it.
As much as I'm getting tired of Roman carrying on with these championships, because I am one of those people. Yes, it's nice to have like a 1-year run or a little bit more than a year. When you get to this point where it's just like, it's just not even worthwhile anymore watching. It's boring. And they put both titles on them now. They had to create another World Heavyweight Championship. But yes, I still want Roman to win the title.
So you mentioned about having over a year of having a title reign. Bianca Belair, after retaining her championship, has now passed out the man as the longest ever reigning women's champion in the modern era.
Good for her. Good for her.
And I know that she's like your daughter's favorite. So.
Oh, she's definitely, she's Kinsley's favorite wrestler. I'm a huge fan of hers. I can't say enough good things about her. I really can't. She is a very talented and a very gifted woman, and I am a fan of hers, and I really do hope for nothing but success for her and her husband, Main Event Montez.
Yeah.
Yeah?
All right, so a couple of things that are kind of sort of related that I'd like to just briefly touch on. The trial date for Ted DiBiase Jr., they are attempting to try to push this back. They're trying to say that there's so much evidence here that neither side is going to have enough time to really properly vet everything that's going on to be able to give a good and proper defense or a good and proper prosecution of the case. I believe the original trial date was supposed to be, I think, June 30th. They now want to push this back. And it sounds like they're trying to push it back to give themselves a little bit more time actually to do a plea deal. His brother, Brett DiBiase, did a plea deal and pled down to much lesser counts than what he was originally charged with. So that's the belief of what they're doing at this moment with Ted Jr. But as we know, everybody's got a price. Now, Ted DiBiase Sr. has a pod. He says everybody's got a pod. So the $1 Million Man, who also is part of what's going on in Mississippi right now, he's not facing the legal issues in this moment that his son is, but I think that will be coming. But I think in the meantime, he's trying to do what he can before that ticket comes calling.
Yeah, he's been at a lot of those, like, Legends expos where they have all the legends come out and sign the autograph. I've seen his face. I've seen more Ted DiBiase in the last year of those things than I have in television the last 20 years.
And add on top of that, again, kind of sort of related. Brett Favre.
Oh, I was going to segue into there. Got it. Go ahead. Nope.
Brett Favre, who had a lawsuit against Pat McAfee, has withdrawn said lawsuit because clearly it was absolutely bonkers that he even had one against him. And his lawyer said, this is stupid. Why are you doing this? You're about to go to prison anyway for doing something really stupid when you already have more money than you need in the rest of your life and you need to commit fraud, allegedly, against your home state and bilk millions of dollars out of them.
Future WWE Hall of Famer Pat McAfee.
Yeah. Agreed, Chris Brown. I don't think Pat McAfee did anything wrong.
He didn't. He was doing what he was supposed to do. He's got a show. It's something that was being talked about. Brett Favre just needs to get over himself because he's one of those people. He lives in a glass house is the best way to put it.
And one thing also out there is the ESPN may be trying to get Pat McAfee away from FanDuel. And one thing I think that could be an interesting cross-section here is since the Endeavor merger and the fact that Endeavor and UFC have a deal with ESPN, there's been talks about ESPN trying to do stuff with WWE. And this could be an interesting crossover possibility if they get McAfee over at ESPN, but he also does stuff for WWE and almost makes it semi-regular part of his show. What do you think about all that?
First of all, that's a huge get for ESPN. He already does the college game day. I'm convinced he's going to be replacing Lee Corso when Lee Corso finally retires at 137. I would love to see ESPN work with WWE. Ever since they've kind of like become friends, so to speak, I've noticed a lot of times the WWE gets posted on the ESPN headlines. Roman Reigns does that. Like, I never thought in all of my years of watching professional wrestling that I would be hearing that the winner of the World Championship at WrestleMania was going to be broadcasted on ESPN's website. And honest to goodness, Pat McAfee is the perfect person to kind of bridge that ESPN WWE relationship because he has ties with both of them because he's done both very, very well. I fucking love Pat McAfee. I really, truly hope for all great things that happen to him. He is an absolute treasure. My late uncle, Ray Guy, would appreciate Pat McAfee getting into a wrestling ring. And hell, he sold a hell of a stunner.
He did. So Mike Rainey, Pat McAfee just had a baby like last week or a week and a half ago. And with all the commitments he has right now, full-time return to WWE, I don't think is going to happen anytime like super soon. But he has stated, I need to still build up my WWE Hall of Fame resume. He will continue to do stuff with the company when he has time and when he's able to. Michael Cole kind of has alluded to that. Sounds like he believes Pat McAfee will be back in a more full-time manner in like 4 years.
Yeah.
So we'll see about that. And Chris Brown, I'm 100%. I'd rather see Cole with McAfee and Barrett with Graves on Monday Night Raw. Then we could get Kevin Patrick to go somewhere else.
He can call main event. It's not like anybody watches that shit anyway.
Yeah?
Yeah.
All right. So one thing about the merger, the Nick Khan brought up is that there are, at this moment, no plans to cut any of the performers. So I guess that's good. They said they're just looking to, cut where things overlap, I guess. And I would imagine that's more office people, whether it's human resources, business office, accountants,
Probably.
salespeople will probably have to keep most of them from, each company so they could sell the thing they're actually specialized at. So
They could pillage the WWE shop. Oh, wait, that's right. WWE shop doesn't exist anymore because they tried to fuck the brainless one a few months ago.
Yeah.
Yeah? Lawrence from the WWE shop. How's unemployment treating you?
Sad.
That's what you get for trying to...
News surrounding Matt Riddle being paged, and WWE corporate is said to be pissed. I have not seen or heard anything about that. I'm assuming that there's some sort of recording of something going out there, but unless Riddle's the one who released it, I don't see how the company could be mad if he was hacked or unless there's stuff that, there have been some allegations out there about Riddle, which he's denied. But if there's video out there of him doing some of the things he's been alleged to do, that would be a bad thing.
Yeah. I've heard bits and pieces. I don't know the whole story behind it. And that's on me. I should have done a little bit more research on that, and I apologize.
Yeah.
Yeah?
All right. So I know one thing that I know you'll definitely want to talk about. It's something that you were very vehement about not that long ago on the podcast. And in fact, I think this person ended up getting your brainless one week. The person who brought the lawsuit against WWE for losing hearing from the WrestleMania pyrotechnics. Now, not everything with this is finished, but the case that was brought into court was dismissed. The person who brought the lawsuit wanted this case in court in front of a judge so the judge could hear it, as far as them getting outside of pre-trial stuff. Well, the judge ruled that the person who went to WrestleMania, even though they did not personally buy the ticket, they were still bound by the arbitration agreement contained within said ticket. That doesn't mean WWE is necessarily completely off the hook, but they're not going into trial. And the fact that they're in arbitration, this person, I believe, was asking for $1 million. And in arbitration, I'm going to guarantee, even if they do get any money from the company, is not going to get anywhere near any of that. Nope. WWE may pay the person just so go away. There might be some away money where it's but honestly, if I were to the company, I'd take it all the way to the end and go, no, this is frivolous. This is bull crap. We're not going to have other people think they could get away with this.
We'll make it up to you. If you drop this lawsuit, we'll give you WrestleMania 40 tickets.
Yeah.
Right below you could be right behind the entrance, right where they shoot off the fireworks.
We'll have you right near the pyrotechnics when the Undertaker comes out, playa.
And honestly, I'm glad. First of all, I'm sad to see it not go into trial. And I agree with you that WWE should take this all the way to the end and just nah, fuck you, dude. You should have known better.
Yeah.
But speaking of other lawsuits, the Shaka Khan, or is it no, the Raka Khan, the Shaka Khan, the Raka Khan lawsuit still seems to have some kind of momentum, and it was asked on the Cornette show on his podcast. Brian Last asked him, if this goes to trial and you get subpoenaed to talk, are you gonna go? And he said yes. I would love nothing more than to have a camera in that courtroom when Cornette is in there, and the first ever trial that James G. Cornette, The Rock, Michael Jordan, Home Depot, and the state of Texas are all going to be a part of. And they can keep it up because either they have Greg Abbott or that dipshit freaking Ted Cruz representing the state of Texas, I'm sure it's going to be entertaining regardless.
Regardless, dude.
But I just wish Hulk Hogan was part of this whole lawsuit because that would just be the icing. He might be. I'm going to have to double check and make sure because there was a lot of people. And if Dixie Carter's family is getting sued and Chris Benoit is getting sued and he's been dead for like 15 years.
The problem with Hulk Hogan is right now I think he's on tour with Metallica, so he might not be available.
But no, he's out selling his Hogan grills. After body slamming 700-pound Andre the Giant, who succumbed to the body slam 9 days after WrestleMania 3.
In 400 days after that, Hogan finally got a day off.
Because he wanted to go visit his biggest fan.
They gave him they cut off his cocaine for a half day, so that's why he had to.
He gave him the day off so he could go visit his biggest fan, Elvis Presley.
Yeah, who was in Kalamazoo because that's Hogan knows where Elvis has been hiding all these years. Just couldn't deal with the fame anymore.
Yeah, Elvis with Andy Kaufman.
Yep. It would have been the greatest thing ever if Andy Kaufman was alive and showed up at Hall of Fame this year.
Oh man, I would end the boycott of watching the Hall of Fame.
That would have been mark out moment of
the history
forever.
of the podcast.
Yeah, that would have been like, oh my God, he really did it.
That would have been the greatest troll job.
Yeah.
They could have at least had Jim Carrey dress up as Andy Kaufman.
Yeah. So, anyway.
Jay, I can't believe it. I completely forgot my top 10 list.
All right.
And this was
I need to fix my brain list for this episode. Forgetting your own top list.
No, it's right here. I have it right here. I haven't announced it yet.
Okay. Yeah.
So, after it was requested last week, the top 10 people in professional wrestling that I would like to go, who I'd like to see go the fuck away.
Okay.
Number 10, Von Wagner. I wish he was a free agent other than just their kayfabe one. The fact that they're saying that they're grooming him to be a main eventer is the saddest thing I've ever heard in my entire life. Number 9, Ronda Rousey. I don't even need to go into details. Number 8, Scripps. It's just I can't even watch NXT because whenever he's on, I just hate my life. Speaking of hating my life, number 7, QT Marshall.
All right.
His QTV is definitely my favorite show in all of television. Number 6, Bucky Beaver himself, Kevin Dunn. As this list has progressed, Jay, who do you think is going to be at the top of the list of people I'd like to see just go the fuck away forever?
I think you're going to have a very impressive top five here. And, I'm going, this is just, I think it's between Russo and Kenny Omega.
Number 5. Oh, you didn't know? The Road Dogg has got to go the fuck away. I can't. He is the one member of his family I can't stand. I love the Candyman. I love Bullet Bob. They're all fantastic. The Road Dogg is just...
Referee Scott Armstrong.
Referee Scott Armstrong, one of my personal favorites. Yeah, the Road Dogg is basically the Tommy Dreamer of the Armstrong family. Speaking of people who have family in the business, number 4, Nia Jax. Okay. Number 3, this person doesn't need any introduction. Twinkle Toes.
Okay.
Number 2, the 16-time limousine riding, jet flying, kiss stealing, wheeling dealing, scum of the earth, the Nature Boy Ric Flair. And all I'm going to say is, for the number 1 name on the list of people in professional wrestling I like to see go the fuck away, boy, am I predictable. It's fucking Vince Russo.
One of our most viewed shorts out there, reels, is when I only put, I think, about 15 seconds of your tirade against Vince Russo, but got quite a bit of traction.
Oh, man, bro. What are you talking about, bro? I know what I'm doing, bro. I'm a wrestling writer, bro. People should listen to me, bro. I'm the guy who put the World Heavyweight Championship on David Arquette.
It was the right booking move, bro.
I was the one who came up with the idea of Judy Bagwell on a forklift, bro.
You're still talking about it, aren't you, bro? That means you're still talking about it, just like me still talking about Clash 13 means it's good, just like me still talking about Giant Gonzalez versus Undertaker at WrestleMania 9 means it's good.
Excuse me. Clash 13 is good. Do not lie to yourself and say that Clash 13, it was the best, worst wrestling show in the history of professional wrestling, and you can't tell me otherwise.
Chris Brown saying, how the hell isn't Vince on the list? It's because, for the most part, we haven't seen him outside of when his mustache appeared during the Endeavor merger. And he did dastardly things.
You see, Muttley, we're going to merge. See? And we're going to stop that anthill mob. Right, Muttley? It's the and honestly, Chris Brown, it's the mustache. That's the reason why I didn't put him on the list.
Okay. All right. What do you say we get into some good, bad, and brainless then?
I think that is a tremendous idea, Cousin Jay. What do you got for your good this week?
I generally like to be really specific. I'm just going to say Puerto Rico. Because, I could talk about specific things in specific matches on that night, but the whole night felt like a giant, celebration. And the crowd was red hot. It was one of the most fun wrestling shows I've watched. I enjoyed the heck out of Backlash. Kudos to WWE for bringing those legends to get the crowd even more hyped than they already were, and the performers for putting on the show that they did. So, Puerto Rico, you get my good for this week because you were actually awesome.
Yeah. And I'm kind of going to go with what you said, except I'm not going to go Puerto Rico. I'm just going to go, I have Backlash. because everything about Backlash, and I'm including the crowd in that, because that was one of the best crowds I've seen in a long time that was outside of WrestleMania. Or outside of the main pay-per-views. That crowd was awesome. They deserve another premium live event sometime down the road. If they want to have Backlash there every year, they earned it. So,
well, I mean, look at Clash at the Castle. How loud was that crowd during Sheamus Gunther match? In general, the crowd was just hot that whole night.
Yeah, I agree.
It goes back to the idea that Nick Khan said, hey, let's do some big events across the world where they don't get to see you much.
It's a brilliant idea, and I'll tell you, like, the card was great. All the outcomes were fantastic. They booked the card perfectly, and that crowd was just electric. So I gave Backlash my good.
Yeah.
What do you got for your bad?
So it's something that we didn't bring up, but apparently Saraya is dealing with some other medical issues, very painful medical issues that, you know, the article I read said it may cut her career short. I don't think so. I think that might be overstating it, but I think it's going to limit the amount of times we see her. I think she would prefer to actually, you know, be there and be in the storylines every week, but because of what she's dealing with, like every couple of weeks she has to deal with a pretty extreme amount of pain, and it sucks that, you know, she came back to, you know, do more with her career, and she's kind of having to pump the brakes a bit. So that's a bummer.
Yeah.
So, all right, Chris Brown, his good is Bad Bunny's performance. So yeah.
His bad is come on, this doesn't want to work. The bad is seeing Selena being denied what would have been
Any like moment in front of her home crowd.
I know there was a couple of Hall of Famers that came out and said that Zelina Vega should have won the match against Rhea Ripley. I'm sorry. Rhea Ripley's the Royal Rumble winner. Rhea Ripley just won the title at WrestleMania. You don't want a hot potato of the championship. And it's not a slight on...
Right now, in the women's division, this would have been like Tony Khan when he put the TNT title on Darby Allin just because they were in Seattle. Without having like a long-term plan, and then 2 weeks later he took the title off Darby Allin. You know, Zelina's super talented, and she may get there at some point.
Oh, she's going to get there.
You know, over to get that opportunity. Hey, if they do Backlash again a year from now and they've done like a proper build of her, you have her win the title next year, I'm perfectly cool with that. But Rhea became like a superstar at WrestleMania, and if you take the title off her this quickly just because you wanted the crowd to be super hyped about it, it's very short-sighted.
I agree. And again, it's not a slight on Zelina Vega. It's just that you just put the title on Rhea Ripley, and you don't want to, especially because now you're going to be flip-flopping.
Bless.
Oh, thank you. Oh, especially because you'll be flip-flopping anyway, because, you know, Bianca's now on Smackdown and Rhea Ripley's still on Raw, and they're opposite champions. So obviously you're going to be getting that switch probably tonight. Who knows? My bad.
Styles, Edge, AJ Styles advancing.
Ooh, interesting. It's going to be Styles versus Rollins, isn't it?
It might be.
Oh, God, yes. Sign me up. If it's Seth Rollins versus AJ Styles, I'm definitely going to have to watch that match on YouTube.
Okay.
That's how I cheat it. Speaking of Edge, so after they did the draft, do you know who the number one babyface on Monday Night Raw is?
Cody Rhodes.
Adrenaline in my soul. Do you know who the number one male babyface on SmackDown is?
Well, I mean, I'm going to go with Edge.
Edge. I'm sorry. I love Edge. Edge is a legend. He's somebody I've enjoyed. I said after he retired in 2009 that they missed somebody like Edge on the roster because they didn't have that guy who could do everything. He's a good face. He's a good heel. He could work with anybody. He had incredible microphone work. But this is 2023. Edge is almost 50 if he isn't already there. You can't have him. It's not a good thing, especially because we were just talking about how bad the women's division of SmackDown was when you have to have Charlotte Flair as your top babyface. Charlotte Flair. Charlotte Flair. Charlotte Flair.
Who's not a baby. Even when she's face, she's not a baby face.
She's not a baby face. But I'm sorry. In 2023, Edge should not be the top of anything except maybe a stable like he was in the Spooky Pals last year. I love Edge, but I'm sorry, he is not a top baby face anymore in 2023. And that's why it's my bet for this week.
Sad.
What do you got for your brainless?
Oh, so my brainless goes to whoever allowed Duke Droese to go out during that show. Man, like those punches look terrible, and I know that other organizations are a little more relaxed with people getting hit in the head, but like not only does he go out there and throw the terrible punches and he just didn't look good, but then he's sitting there hitting a dude in the head with a metal trash can. Enough, haven't we?
Like I said, Jay, watching that clip, my childhood died. Because he really should be at the back of the garbage can throwing the trash in the back of the truck.
Well, at this point, he would be the person driving the truck to play the joystick to pick up the can and dump it. He can still do the job. Actually, it would probably be more friendly to him, at this stage of life. He probably wouldn't be able to pick up all those garbage cans every week like he used to.
Oh, I saw him throw punches, so he's definitely not throwing the trash in the back of the truck either.
But he could still throw that trash can around, the empty one.
The empty one with his hopes and dreams.
Duke Droese.
You know what? If I could go back in time to the night of WrestleMania 17 when my friends and I were putting together our pick'em sheets and we all put $5 in, and I actually said that Duke Droese was going to win that match. I was the only person on planet Earth that picked Duke Droese. I could tell you the things that my friends all said to me when I picked Duke Droese. I'll keep it to the most PG thing. My buddy said to me, Rob, we're not picking the fourth person eliminated from the match. But I would have given myself the brainless for that. I will tell you right now, if I could go back in time, I could go back in time a bunch of times and I could give myself my brainless a bunch of times in my life. But for my brainless for this week, it wasn't something we discussed on the podcast, but I'm going to give it to Jungle Boy. AEW has this show All In Wembley Stadium. So when they made the big announcement, they sent some of the wrestlers over there to kind of promote AEW for their show in Wembley. They sent Ruby Soho, Anna Jay, and Jungle Boy, to name a few. From people who were at the show, they said that Ruby Soho was very pleasant, very upfront, open, very talkative, very nice. She was wonderful. Jungle Boy, I heard, got a really bad review. People were saying that they had packages where you could get your picture taken and an autograph, and he was like, "Oh, I'll sign the autographs, but I'm not going to do the pictures." Well, they already paid for the pictures. Well, I don't want to do the pictures. They were asking him questions, and he was very smug and very standoffish in his answers. My favorite was somebody had asked him in the Q&A, if you were a wrestling fan who loved this stuff and you wanted to get into the business, what advice would you give somebody? And he said, don't get into the business.
Wow.
It's bad enough the man has the personality of this freaking empty can of soda. I wouldn't even consider him one of the pillars anymore, because if he's one of your pillars, that's a terrible pillar. Yes, he can he's a spot fest guy and he can wrestle in the ring, but he has no personality. And I'll tell you right now, he comes off as a dick like this because it wasn't even just one person that said like he was like this. There was multiple people that were talking about how much of a douche Jungle Boy was. This is your first chance and opportunity to make a first impression on the people in the UK, and this is what you do? I as much as I sit here and I applaud Tony Khan, because yes, at the end of the day, he started a wrestling promotion and it is very successful considering what it is.
Right.
But he continues to make these stupid decisions. And because of the fact that I just, how do you send Jungle Boy if that's how he's going to talk and act? Why couldn't you send Darby Allin? I know Sammy Guevara probably would have thrown a chair at somebody, but at least he has a personality.
Like literally his job was to go there and sign autographs and do PR for the company he works for.
Yep.
And he failed on every level. He was not gracious to the fans when they ask him a question about the profession that he's chosen. And he tells them not to do it. If they're doing this as a way to turn him heel, I mean, I could go back to that time when he and MJF and Sammy Guevara and Darby Allin were in the ring, and they did a whole bunch of things character-wise that made zero sense to me. Like at the end, Jungle Boy hitting MJF in the back of the head with the microphone. I'm like, that's something a heel does. Yep. Now, if it was all part of like some grand scheme, great. You got me. I don't think so. I don't think so at all. I think he's just a douche.
Now, let me ask you this. Is it worse that this is Dylan McKay's kid?
You know, I think at this point, he most of the people watching the product now probably aren't even familiar with Dylan McKay. The fans might know that his father was an actor of at some point, but I don't know if they know. I mean...
Nope, I'm not doing it. Nope. I may or may not have watched an episode or two. You forget who my sister is.
Right. Yeah, I watched a few episodes. I watched many episodes the first handful of seasons.
Same. I did too.
Yeah?
Yeah?
Remember the episode where Jack McKay got blown up?
I do, actually.
Yes.
I also remember the first episode where Tiffany Amber Thiessen showed up.
I remember thinking that she was going to be similar to Kelly Kapowski, and when she wasn't, I'm like going...
Oh, yeah, when she was not the sweetheart like Kelly Kapowski and she was a total bitch, that was the biggest mind fuck in the history of my life, and when it comes to TV or movies.
It was like, whoa, Kelly Kapowski, what happened?
That and the dude being Ironmonger.
Right.
But anyway, if you like what you've seen, whether you are a first-time fan or a continuous watcher, make sure you like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, follow us on Instagram, and subscribe to us on YouTube at the letter T, the letter H, the letter E, the letter F, the letter N, MARKS, the F and Marks. If you like and follow, subscribe to us, we will do the same back. That has always been our
mantra, and make sure you sign up for notifications so that when we go live, you will be notified that we are live so you can join in the conversation about our favorite sport that we love to hate. Also, make sure you subscribe to us on Spotify. That way, when you are on the road, you can take the F and Marks with you and listen to the show.
Yeah?
Yeah!
Like I do,
Yeah.
because I do listen to the F and Marks when I'm not on the F and Marks.
Yeah.
When I say it's everyone's favorite wrestling podcast, it's because it's my favorite wrestling podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah? So I think that's it.
And page, one thing I have been doing is I've been posting archive episodes. I actually posted episode 29 this week. 29. So
You got to get to that infamous episode 91.
Yeah.
That's good shit. I hope we find it. I got to see if I tried looking at Periscope. I'm going to see if I can try to save it, but
Now, yeah.
so I think that's it.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think that is definitely it. Ain't nothing else to talk about. We've covered it all.
So for episode
etc. It's all there, black and white, clear as crystal.
So for episode 312 of the F. Wait a minute.
Wait.
It's episode 300. Yes, I know it's episode 312, Brainless One. So why are you interrupting me, Curtis Axel?
F and Mark.
Are you? I am F and Mark's Hall of Famer, Curtis Axel. Thank you, Cousin Jay.
Yeah.
I can't believe this. Are you serious? You want to know why I'm upset? Why are you upset, Curtis Axel? That's because today, May 12th of 2023, at an astonishing 3,029 days, I, F and Mark's Hall of Famer Curtis Axel, is still alive in the 2015 Royal Rumble.
Bow, 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 bow. Bow, 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 bow.
Oh, Captain Wedgie from behind.
Yeah.
So for episode 312 of Everyone's Favorite Wrestling Podcast, the F and Marks.
I'm Jay. He is.
I am, I was, and I always will be the Brainless One. Make sure you mark out.
With your guac out. See you, everybody.
Thanks for tuning in.
Yeah.
Yeah. Later, Jay.
See you, Brainless One.
Yeah.
Yeah.